Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. I was looking at this setup for today's deep dive, and it made me think about this very specific kind of professional anxiety. It's that feeling you get, right? You're in a high-stakes meeting, someone puts up a slide with a crucial number, let's say revenue, and immediately you see three people in the room just frown, open their laptops, and start typing like mad.
Oh, yeah. The classic dueling spreadsheets scenario. It's the stuff of nightmares for executives.
It really is. And we are absolutely drowning in data right now. You've got clouds, apps, data warehouses, just endless rows of records. But the source material we're covering today, it argues that this unchecked growth has actually made us slower, not smarter.
Well, it's the paradox of the modern stack, isn't it? We have more information than any civilization in history, but we're sort of paralyzed by it because we don't know what's true. And if you don't know what's true, you can't make a decision.
Exactly. And that is why we are doing a deep dive today into a topic that, I'll be honest, on the surface, it sounds like the driest, most bureaucratic thing we could possibly discuss. Data governance strategy, ensuring quality and compliance.
Right.
But before you tune out thinking this is just about checking boxes for an auditor, let me stop you. The article frames this very differently. It's not about red tape. It says it's about survival.
That's the core argument, yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we're operating in a landscape that's defined by AI, by rapid digitalization. In that environment, if you can't trust your data, you effectively can't move. You're paralyzed. So the mission of this deep dive is to explain exactly how organizations can turn that data sprawl, that chaos, into a trusted asset that actually drives the business forward.
So let's unpack this. The source material makes a really specific distinction right out of the gate that I think we need to clarify. It separates data governance from data management.
Yeah.
I feel like I hear people use those interchangeably all the time. Is this just word games or is there a real difference here?
It sounds like semantics, I know, but it's actually a crucial functional distinction. If you treat them as the same thing, you're probably going to fail at both.
Okay.
Think of governance as the blueprint. It's the strategic layer. Governance defines the rules of the game. Who owns what data? Who can see it? What are the naming conventions?
So governance is writing the laws.
Precisely. That's the legislative branch. And then management is the execution. It's the executive branch. It's the day-to-day work, the actual technical stuff, handling storage, integrating systems, running the platform.
Okay, that helps.
The text uses a great analogy. Governance sets the speed limit and puts up the stop signs. Management is actually driving the car.
That helps a lot. But to play devil's advocate here, can't you just drive the car really well and figure out the rules as you go?
You can try, but that's how you get a pileup. I mean, imagine driving on a highway where half the drivers think the speed limit is 80 and the other half think it's 40.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And nobody agrees on which side of the road to drive on. That is what most corporate data environments look like today. You might have excellent management, great servers, fast software, but if the governance isn't there, you're just crashing faster.
That's a terrifying image, but
yeah,
pretty accurate. And the text points out that this is exactly where most companies fail. They treat governance as a one-off project.
Yes.
They think, okay, Q1 is our data cleanup quarter. We'll fix the spreadsheets, and then we're done.
Right, and that is a fatal flaw. Data is like entropy. It naturally decays towards chaos.
Yeah.
New data is created every single second. If you treat governance as spring cleaning instead of a permanent operating model, you'll be right back where you started in 6 months. It has to be a lifestyle change, not a diet.
A lifestyle change, I like that. So if we accept that we need this permanent operating model, what does that actually look like? The source material breaks it down into 3 pillars: people, process, and technology. I want to start with the people, because usually when companies try to fix data, they hire more IT people. But the text seems to suggest this is actually a business problem.
It is absolutely a business problem. You cannot code your way out of a lack of ownership. The text outlines a kind of hierarchy here. At the top, you have the chief data officer, the CDO who leads operations, and a steering committee to set priorities. But where it gets really interesting, and where the friction usually happens, is with the on-the-ground roles.
Right, the people actually doing the work.
Yes. So you have data owners, who are usually business leaders authorized to approve access. Then you have data stewards who define the terms and monitor the quality. And finally, custodians who implement the technical controls.
Okay, can we distinguish those a bit more? Because owner and steward sound pretty similar to me.
Sure. Think of the data owner as, say, the VP of sales. They own the risk. They have the authority to say, yes, the marketing team is allowed to see this revenue data.
Got it.
The data steward is the subject matter expert. They're the one who defines what revenue actually means. Does it include tax? Returns. They
Right.
monitor the quality.
Mhm.
And the custodian is the IT person who actually goes in and encrypts the file based on what the owner and steward decided.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, the text mentions a specific tool for this, the RCI matrix. And I have to be honest, whenever I see a matrix in a report, my eyes just glaze over a little. Is this actually useful, or is it just consulting fluff?
I know, matrices can feel so bureaucratic.
Yep.
But in this specific context, it's vital because of what you could call the bystander effect.
Mhm.
In a complex data environment, everyone assumes someone else is checking for quality. Oh, IT handles that. No, sales checks that. RSI responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. It forces you to put a name in a box. If the customer address data is wrong, who is accountable? Not a department, a person. It anchors accountability so things don't slip through the cracks.
Okay, so everyone stays in their lane, but the lanes are clearly marked. Moving to the second pillar, process. There's a phrase in the text I really liked. It talks about moving from heroics to habit.
That is such a critical concept.
But wait, usually being a hero at work is a good thing, right? We promote heroes. Why does the text frame heroics as a problem?
Because heroics are a symptom of a broken system. You know what this looks like. It's Tuesday night, 11:00 p.m. The board report is due Wednesday morning. The data is broken. So one brilliant analyst stays up all night, manually stitching spreadsheets together, fixing formatting errors, and essentially saves the day.
I think every single listener has either been that person or bought that person a coffee the next morning.
Exactly. And while we applaud the effort, it's not sustainable. If that analyst gets sick or quits, the business breaks. That is heroics. The goal of the process pillar is to standardize repeatable workflows. Discover, define, apply, and measure. You want to make quality and compliance boring.
Boring.
Yes, it shouldn't be a rescue mission. It should just be how the business runs.
Make quality boring. I love that. It shouldn't be a thriller movie. It should be a documentary. And that brings us to the third pillar, technology. The text calls this the enabler. I'm assuming this isn't just about buying more servers.
No, it's about software that actually enforces the policy. You can have all the rules in the world, but if they live in a PDF on a server somewhere that nobody reads, they're useless. The technology makes the rules.
Yeah.
Well, real. And the analysis highlights a few key tools, starting with the data catalog.
Which sounds like a library index.
Basically, yes. Think of it like an Amazon for your company's data. If you're an analyst, you shouldn't have to email 5 different people asking, hey, where's that Q3 sales data? Sure. You should be able to log in, search for it, see who owns it, read the definition, and request access right there. It just centralizes all the metadata so assets are actually findable.
That solves the where is it problem. But what about the trust problem?
That's where lineage comes in. This traces a record's entire journey from the source all the way to the final report. Where did this number come from? Which systems did it pass through? Did anyone change it? If you can't show the lineage, you just can't trust the result. And finally, you have quality tooling, which gives you automated scoring on how accurate or complete your data is.
It's really a tripod. If you pull one leg out, the whole thing falls over. Now, I want to pivot to what I think is the most strategic part of this whole deep dive. The text discusses a tension between two different types of governance, defensive and offensive.
Yes, this is the core strategic balance. And frankly, this is where most organizations get stuck.
Let's start with defense. This sounds like the stuff that keeps general counsels awake at night.
It is. Defensive governance is all about compliance, security, and privacy. The real-world triggers here are regulations like GDPR in Europe, CCPA and CPRA in California, IPO for healthcare, and the stakes are just incredibly high. The text cites the big meta GDPR fine as a cautionary tale.
That was a massive fine.
Hundreds of millions of dollars. And it shows that weak controls don't just cost you legal fees, they cost you capital and massive reputational harm. So defensive governance uses tactics like data masking, encryption, and least privilege access to make sure that if a regulator knocks on your door, you can prove you're handling data responsibly.
So defense is about staying out of jail. But here's my concern, and I think a lot of business leaders feel this. If you lock everything down to be safe, don't you effectively just freeze the business? It becomes the Department of No.
That is the traditional view, and that is exactly why offensive governance is so important. Offensive governance isn't about restriction. It's about growth, revenue, and innovation. It's about accelerating analytics and getting better customer insights.
Okay, but how does governance actually help you move faster? Usually, rules slow you down.
Well, think about it this way. If you're a marketing team and you want to launch a new personalized campaign,
Hmm.
in a defensive-only world, legal blocks you. They don't know if the data is safe.
Right. No.
But in a world with good offensive governance, you have access to a pre-approved, privacy-safe dataset. It's been curated, certified, and cleaned. You can just grab those trusted building blocks and build your campaign immediately. You don't have to rebuild the dataset from scratch or worry if you're breaking the law.
So defense keeps you safe, but offense gives you the confidence to run.
Precisely. And the synthesis the text offers is that a smart strategy does both. You need the defensive rails to stay on the track, but you need the offensive freedom to actually drive the train toward new products. You can't just lock everything down, or you'll suffocate the business.
That's a really helpful way to frame it. It's not compliance versus innovation. It's compliance enabling innovation. Now, let's talk about implementation, because this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually build this? The text mentions being cloud first. Is that just a buzzword, or is it a requirement?
It's highly recommended. The source material advocates for modular cloud-first architectures rather than those old, monolithic designs. This connects back to agility. Cloud-first setups and microservices, they allow for elastic scaling. As your data volume grows, your governance tech can grow with it without needing a total rebuild.
And surely AI plays a role here. I feel like we can't have a conversation about tech right now without mentioning AI.
Absolutely. The text emphasizes using AI to automate the boring stuff.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, we're talking about things like automated discovery of new data assets, sensitivity tagging, figuring out which data is private, and lineage capture. These used to be manual tasks that took thousands of hours. Now AI can do the heavy lifting.
That's great. Let the robots do the filing so the humans can do the thinking. But for a company that's just starting out, this can feel so overwhelming. You look at your legacy systems, your messy Excel files, and you just want to give up. The text has a section on the roadmap. If I'm a leader listening to this and I'm staring at a mountain of messy data, where do I start?
The advice here is excellent. Start small. Do not boil the ocean. You cannot govern all your data on day one. If you try to launch a massive company-wide governance program all at once, you will almost certainly fail.
So pick your battles.
Exactly. The strategy is to pick a first use case with provable value. This could be something like improving finance reporting accuracy or ensuring privacy compliance for a specific region, or maybe building a customer 360 view. You pick one thing that hurts right now and you fix it using these principles.
And the text calls this the bowling pin effect. I love that visual. Can you explain the strategy behind that?
It's a political strategy as much as a technical one. You find a senior leader, an executive sponsor, to back this one specific project. Maybe the CFO is tired of the monthly close taking 3 wins. You promise to fix that. When you knock down that lead pin, when you prove that governance made finance reporting 50% faster or safer, that visible win knocks down barriers for adjacent teams. Suddenly, marketing wants what finance has. Product wants what marketing has.
That is so smart. You aren't asking for a blank check for governance, which sounds boring and expensive. You're asking to fix a specific headache.
Exactly. It changes the conversation from governance is a cost center to governance solved that problem we all hated. It unlocks funding and buy-in because you've proven the value.
So speaking of proving value, let's talk about measuring success. Section 5 of our deep dive covers the so what. Why does this matter to the bottom line?
This is critical. You shouldn't just measure activity. Don't just count how many meetings the steering committee had. You need to measure outcomes.
Okay, so what are the key KPIs the text recommends? What are we actually measuring?
There are a few big ones. First, reduced time to insight. How long does it take from having a question to getting a reliable answer? If governance is working, that time should drop dramatically. Then you have policy conformance rates. Are people actually following the rules? And data quality scores. Is the data actually getting cleaner?
And for the defensive side, I imagine audit findings are a big one.
Huge. A reduction in audit findings means fewer fines, less panic. And if we look at the bottom line, it breaks down into 3 buckets. First, efficiency. Less time fixing data means your expensive data scientists are doing science, not data janitor work. Second, revenue. Better targeting, better product retention because you actually understand your customer. And third, risk. Just avoiding those massive fines we talked about.
It really does touch every part of the business. You know, listening to this, I keep thinking about how much emotional energy is wasted in corporate life just debating whose numbers are right.
Oh, absolutely.
My spreadsheet says X, yours says Y. Governance essentially eliminates that argument.
It does. It creates a single source of truth. And when you stop arguing about whose numbers are right, you can start discussing what the numbers actually mean and what to do about them. That's a massive cultural shift.
So what does this all mean for the future? We've covered the what and the how, but where is this all heading?
The conclusion of the source material offers a really important perspective shift. For a long time, governance was seen as a bureaucratic roadblock, the Department of No.
Right.
But the future of governance is shifting to become a business enabler.
From no to how can we do this safely?
Exactly. And the practical takeaway for you listening is that this isn't a set it and forget it thing. You need to review your framework annually. Regulations like the new AI laws mentioned in the text, they're coming. The landscape is shifting. The most successful organizations treat continuous improvement as an operating habit, not a one-time cleanup.
That's a powerful idea. It's an operating habit. Just like you balance your books every month, you govern your data every day.
And if you do that, you aren't just surviving the data deluge, you're actually surfing it. You're using the momentum to go faster.
I want to leave our listeners with a final provocation, something to chew on. If you treated your data with the exact same rigor as your financial assets, if you tracked every data point like you track every single dollar in the bank, how much faster could your business move? It's a wild thought, but I think that's where the world is heading.
It absolutely is. And the companies that figure that out first are going to have a massive competitive advantage.
Well, we have unpacked a lot today. We've gone from the chaos of data sprawl to the structure of a governance blueprint, balanced offense and defense, and looked at how to actually implement this with that bowling pin strategy.
It's been a pleasure walking through it. This is one of those topics that feels really technical, but is actually deeply strategic.
Couldn't agree more. A huge thank you to all of you for tuning in to the SmartKeys podcast. We hope this deep dive gave you some tools to start taming the chaos in your own organizations. If you want to master the details of that RACI matrix we talked about, or see the full breakdown of those offensive versus defensive strategies, I highly recommend you subscribe to the podcast and read the full article. You can find the link right here in the show notes. It's really worth a read. Until next time, keep asking the hard questions and keep diving deep. Thanks for listening.